Remember when I said I was going to do a lot of like reading of Greek retellings this year? Apparently this is what I meant when I said that. Just a bunch of absolutely filthy Hi, my name's Rachel, and today we're talking about another Katie Robert Dark Olympus book, which are Greek retellings that have a lot of, you know, wink wink. I have to be careful what I say in the beginning of the video or YouTube overlords will get mad at me.
At the risk of YouTube getting mad at me further, I do want to issue a content warning for this video. It is going to include talking about adult content, including adult scenes, and including talking about and showing adult toys. Thank you.
I did read Neon Gods. This is in that same series. Neon Gods was about Hades and Persephone, and this one is about Medusa and Calypso. Yes, it's sapphic. Finally. Is it better than Neon Gods, which I only gave a 3 to? Yeah. I was really excited to see Medusa because that is a Greek mythology character that I do have some knowledge about, unlike, you know, the vast majority of them. Calypso, not so much. This is my third reading experience with a Katie Robert book, one of her spicy retelling books. I, again, did read and review Neon Gods, but I also reviewed one of these spicy Disney villains books. Disney villains, but for adults and spicy. I still don't know how that's possible. I read the Jasmine and Jafar one, Desperate Measures, which was an experience. As you can see, I like some parts, but I do have some complaints. And this is where the audiobook made me clam up and die a little. But one thing that I do like about these books is that they are so sex positive, which is something I firmly believe in, as does today's sponsor, which is Bellesa. Bellesa and I are sending out gift cards for vibrators and free vibrators to everybody who signs up to the giveaway down in the link down below. If you don't know, Bellesa is a by women company for all things sexuality. Sex toys, erotica, no stigma here. Bellesa's mission is to empower everybody to embrace and celebrate and learn about their sexuality. And they have a wide variety of products so everybody can find something that works for them. If you are a beginner, you should check out the Demi wand. This is a toy that can be for everybody, but it is especially great for beginners. It's just the one button on top. You just hold it down to turn it on. No patterns, but it does have multiple intensity settings, so you can amp up the intensity. They also sent me the Pebble, which I feel like, knowing Calypso from this book, this would be Calypso's favorite. It's cute and dainty like she is. And like Calypso, this is bisexual because it does multiple things. It has suction and the whole thing is a vibrator. You can use one, you can use the other, you can use both. This is the cutest one that I own. I love the rose gold, I love the pink. But this is my favorite. This is the thump. Whole thing is a vibrator. It has suction, but it also has this thumping mechanism that is the best. This is the one I tell my friends, if you're gonna buy a toy, you should buy the thump. And I did talk my friend into getting this, and it is now their favorite too. But if you're looking for one that is a little more fancy, this is the Air Vibe with a vibrator and sucking and G-spot stimulation. They have you covered there as well. Bellesa toys are made for all bodies. They are also waterproof, they are USB rechargeable, and they come in these charging cases that are super discreet. All their toys are made from quality silicone. Also, they hold charge a lot better than other more expensive toys that I have tried. They are waterproof, which is great and important because you do need to be cleaning your sex toys after each use. So whether you're a beginner or a pro, Bellesa has a toy for everybody. So you can claim your free gift card or free vibrator by clicking the link down below. Find something to match your freak, and thank you so much to Bellesa for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so I'm gonna say right off the bat that I give it a 2. If I had paid for this, which I did not, I got it through Hoopla, God bless, I would have been really disappointed because this didn't seem to be very much. However, this is, I think, something that was turned into a book, an ebook, after it was on the author's Patreon. I don't think that this is available for purchase. Kindle just has it for free. Let's start with the content warnings. This book contains material that may be upsetting for some readers. Attempted murder, drugging, assault, which is historical and off-page, explicit sex, reader discretion is advised. Katie Robert does a good job of doing trigger warnings. I would add that there is also alcohol consumption, but I know that a lot of people are not really adding that to trigger warnings, but just so you know, there is alcohol consumption. We hit the ground running, which is unfortunate because I think that if we had just taken some time to really build this out, this could have been a really good sapphic book and like a really sweet sapphic book. This isn't really like Dark Olympus and, you know, the whole like sex dungeon stuff that had like it was in Neon Gods. This is just like a couple of gals who have the hots for each other and one is supposed to kill the other and can't, and then they run away together. And that's it. This is only 91 pages, so it is very short. However, again, I just feel like doing it this way did a disservice to the entire idea of it. Chapter 1 is in Medusa's POV. This is dual POV. Athena is telling her, hey, I need you to do something for me. Medusa does work for Athena. And it says Athena doesn't require much formality as my old instructors, but old habits die hard. And I'm not really sure who her old instructors were or what that has to do with anything. If she wasn't my commander, her beauty and perfection would make me trip over my feet and act like a bumbling teenager, but Athena does not suffer fools lightly, and I'm not foolish enough to harbor a schoolyard crush on one of the 13 most powerful people in Olympus most days. So again, we are in the city of Olympus, which I completely forgot is somehow set in our world, and Olympus is separated into two, the upper world and the underworld, the lower world, and the 13 are in charge, but one of those 13 was Hades, who was killed, and the other 12 run Olympus, the upper world, including like Poseidon, Zeus. But these seem to be like roles people play, like you are like the Poseidon. I don't know what these people got, like what their names are before they are the new Poseidon. That's not really explained. I think the issue I take with these books is that we have like a really cool idea here. We're just like a little too horny and not really doing the details that I'd like to see there. And there's nothing wrong with just being horny. It's just that I'm a detail-oriented girl. I really want to get immersed. And so if we're like building a fictional world, I really want to see those details and have them make sense to me. Medusa does not have snakes for hair, but she is the hired arm of Athena. She goes out and kills people for Athena, and she does this because Athena stepped in for her in a time when Medusa was in trouble because the old Poseidon tried to assault her. And Medusa says she's sort of seen as like a boogeyman in Olympus, but she feels sort of like she has to do this for Athena. Athena is the only reason I didn't spend years holed up in an apartment in the shipping district, unwilling mistress to the last Poseidon. He's dead and gone now. His son inherited the title, but the fear remains. Better to be feared than desired. Better for me, better for everyone. Athena says, so the situation that we're dealing with is not ideal. Two of the legacy families are at each other's throats over a marital matter, and Zeus requested that I step in and take care of this, so I'm sending you after the mistress of Odysseus. Zeus is in charge of the 13. Athena is part of the 13, but Zeus, it says Zeus is Zeus. Odysseus has had a mistress and has not been subtle about the existence of said mistress. So now the fact that this has happened, the wife's embarrassed and now the families are feuding. So Zeus has asked that we take out the mistress to solve the problem. And Athena hands her a folder that has the information. The mistress's name is Calypso and gives her the address. She doesn't deserve what's about to happen to her, but sometimes the price of grabbing for power in Olympus is that you get violence and blood instead of prestige and jewels. And Athena says that Odysseus just handed over this information to Zeus, who gave it to Athena, like he's just giving up his mistress and like serving her head on a silver platter. And Medusa's like disturbed by this. He's the married one. Why is murder more acceptable than admitting he was wrong and ending the relationship? Athena says that's not our concern. So I think that what we could have done here is, number one, I think Medusa and Calypso should have known each other previously, because this is going to get insta love real quick in a way that I just felt was super cringy and doesn't work for the amount of pages that we're doing. And on top of this, I really feel like Medusa should have maybe been written in a way where it's like, okay, I thought of myself as sort of like an avenging angel, and that makes sense given that Athena was sort of her avenging angel who, like, you know, took care of her and got her out of this situation with Poseidon after Poseidon attacked her. And so it would have made sense that Medusa was like, you know, I'm going after men who hurt women typically. And now suddenly Athena's like, well, that's not the job today. And now she's feeling like, you know, Athena isn't who I thought she was. I think that that would have been made for a better story. Instead, Athena's like, well, Calypso has to be removed to maintain the peaceful balance. So Medusa says, okay, I'll take care of it. Athena says, it's best to make it look like an accident if at all possible. The woman has no family to speak of, but Odysseus has been public with the affair. If it gets out that she was the victim of a violent end, people will ask uncomfortable questions. So Medusa's like, okay, I will put sleeping pills into, you know, a drink for her, enough to make her pass out. If I have to, I'll smother her. But she's really grappling with feeling conflicted because she doesn't think that this woman deserves to die just for sleeping with a married man. She dresses up for, you know, the job. She wears a mask, but then says it hardly matters if she sees me because it's not like she'll live to talk about the fact that one of Athena's people showed up to murder her. Oh, she pockets the mask. Sorry, doesn't wear it. Which I was like, you're just pocketing a mask? Just random? Okay. She then calls Bellerophon to ask them to hack into the security cameras for the apartment building that Calypso lives in and put the security cameras on a loop. And I felt like we took a lot of time to do this just to sort of slide Bellerophon in here, who I'm going to be honest, I don't know anything about. I like Bellerophon quite a bit. They're quiet and competent and they never make me feel like the monster I'm certain I am most of the time. They also don't treat my scars as either something horrific to stare at or something to pretend doesn't exist. So it's interesting that she feels like she's a monster. I'm not sure if that's because she feels like she, you know, kills people and that makes her monstrous, or if it's just the scars, but the way that this is written, it says they also don't treat my scars as something horrific. So I don't think that her feeling like a monster is rooted in her being covered in scars, which she got from when Poseidon attacked her. So the chapter ends with her saying, I know how I'll feel after the night's events come to a conclusion, like the monster I am. But again, I don't know why she feels that way. Don't really understand her confliction and why this was like the final straw for her on why she couldn't go through with this assassination when she's gone through all the others. Chapter 2 is also in Medusa's POV. She's getting the apartment, she's kind of stalling, she's really feeling conflicted. She breaks in, she gets to the kitchen, she puts the pills, crushed up pills, inside of a wine bottle. She starts to hear a voice coming down the hall, so she hides behind a couch. The voice comes in the room and is on the phone, and it's a woman's voice, and she's saying, yes, Daddy, I need a new dress. We talked about this. Yes, I already have a blue dress, but I wore it last time we went to the Dryad. You can't honestly expect me to wear the same thing twice, can you? Don't play games. You know I need the money tonight, or they'll add another 2 weeks onto the turnaround time. Thank you, you're the best. Do you want to see what I'm wearing right now, or what I'm not wearing right now? And he on the phone says no, and it's obviously Odysseus, and she says, oh, okay, have a good night. And then when she hangs up, she says, that fucking bastard. Medusa says, surely she doesn't know. How could she? She must just think he's getting tired of her. No one in their right mind would take a minor rejection as a sign that their lover intends to kill them. I just feel like this is sort of not needing to be said. Like it's kind of obvious to the audience that either she knows or it's not something that Medusa needs to say. This is an issue I often have with first-person POV, is that we're just saying really silly things and like spoon-feeding the audience when like I understand context clues. I don't need them to be fed to me as if the main character is stupid or as if I am. She hears that there's like a clink and glasses, so she's like, okay, good. Calypso's gonna drink the wine. She starts to feel bad again. It says, I know better than letting myself humanize her, but I can't seem to help it. And I thought that was odd. Like, so do you normally dehumanize other people? Why? Like, what's behind that? I just wish I understood more of her background and her thinking process here. She gets up because Calypso leaves the room. She notices that half the wine bottle is empty now. She's looking around the apartment. She's noticing that it doesn't have any family photos. She feels bad again. Athena would shake her head if she knew the direction of my thoughts. She compartmentalizes better than anyone I've ever met, and that's the first lesson she strives to teach her people when she takes them on. One does not last long as a member of Olympus Special Forces without getting one's hands dirty. I catch sight of the mistress sitting next to a giant harp, her fingers plucking at the strings and creating that haunting music that feels like a hand wrapped around my heart. My thoughts tumble over each other like a train derailing the tracks. She's beautiful. She notices that she has curves. So this book has fat rep, which is great. It's nice to see a fat woman portrayed as beautiful, because typically fatness is portrayed as like monstrosity and disgusting. You know, like the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle did. Jesus fucking Christ. She has curves, the kind of decadent body that isn't fashionable right now, but makes my palms sweat. I shouldn't be ogling her like this. It's wrong. So raw, so right, all night, all right, oh yeah. The urge to stride in there to knock it out of her grasp and tell her, the wine glass, and tell her to run from this place overwhelms me. There's nowhere to run to. The boundary around Olympus can only be passed through us by a select through, and they're choosy about who they allowed to leave the city boundaries. The mistress of Odysseus, a woman marked for death by both Athena and Zeus, Poseidon and his people, would turn her over without hesitation. Again, I don't really understand the setup of this in the context of the real world, because it is in the real world. But all right. And she's like, this would also not work out for me because Athena would not suffer failure from me. So then Calypso calls out You can come out. I know you're there. Chapter 3 is in Calypso's POV. She had begun to suspect that her time with Odysseus was coming to an end, but now she's realizing, oh shit, they're sending somebody to take me out. And not on a date or to the ball game, but in like a kind of way. Yeah, I didn't need to explain that. See how annoying it is to over-explain something that you've already picked up on? She says to, you know, the shadowy person who she hasn't realized is Medusa yet, "It was a good move with the wine. I must have surprised you when I came back into the kitchen though, because you didn't place the bottle exactly where I'd left it." Medusa doesn't answer. She thinks the man I've been sleeping with for 7 months barely sees me as a person. All my life, people have sought to use or possess me the same way one uses or possesses a priceless vase or a painting, not a person. Why would this assassin be any different? She asked, "Did Odysseus' wife send you?" "No, not her." "Oh," I say faintly. "Gods, I didn't expect that, or for it to hurt so much. I knew I was taking a risk allowing Odysseus to seduce me and shower me with gifts and this apartment and all the rest. I foolishly thought I could get out unscathed. I suppose that's one way to end the relationship." I reach out with a shaking hand to set the wine on the dresser, but she turned her back to the door and now Medusa has a hold on her. And like the first thing Medusa says after Stop Struggling is, "You can't see me." And I'm not really sure why. I mean, if you're gonna kill her anyway, who cares? And so immediately Calypso says, "Blindfold me." It just feels like we rushed right to this. And I know we're doing the Medusa thing where it's like, we can't see Medusa, otherwise we'll turn to stone. But it just seems like I don't know, there was a lot of potential to do something cool and fun and also sexy there. And it just feels like, it's fine. And she figures out it's Medusa in 10 seconds anyway. So like, what was the point other than, you know, yay, we pulled out a blindfold. She says, "Blindfold me. I promise I won't take it off." Medusa says, it's not that simple. This has all gone wrong." Calypso says, "While I sympathize, I think between the two of us that my night is going worse than yours. I just found out that the man I slept with less than 24 hours ago hired an assassin to kill me." She asks, "What can I call you?" And Medusa says, "M." And immediately Calypso's like, "First initial." And then she reaches out and touches Medusa and feels a bunch of scars, and she clocks that it's Medusa immediately. No one escapes Medusa. She's become something of a legend, urban legend in Olympus. Some years ago, the last Poseidon tried to make her his mistress, despite the fact that she reportedly wasn't interested in the job. He took it poorly. There was an attack, but she fought her way free and threw herself upon Athena's mercy, such as it is, or perhaps Athena intervened. The details are a little fuzzy. She asks, "Do you often kill the mistresses of powerful men?" Medusa says, "No, you're the first." And immediately after this, she arches her back. She's like, "Do you like women, M?" And Medusa's like, "What? Do you like women?" "I don't have preferences when it comes to gender. Beauty is beauty." Same. I too am pansexual. Medusa clears her throat. "I'm not beautiful." "That's not really for you to say. You're strong, you're clever, you're ruthless. Those things are beautiful." This is true. That's actually quite cute. But again, I feel like this would have hit harder if they had known each other before. Like, imagine her being like, you know, cool with Calypso. They're kind of friends. They kind of know each other a little bit. She has a little crush on her, but she's like honor bound to do whatever Athena says. But then again, this is conflicting. Maybe Athena lied to her and said, you know, Calypso has done all this stuff. Or maybe she never gets the details and Athena says, "I would only send you after people who hurt you, like Poseidon, who hurt people like Poseidon tried to hurt you." And then she's like, "Well, Calypso wouldn't hurt people." And she's trying to like butter her up, but she says, "Do you know that Odysseus offered to get me a nose job?" Medusa says, "Fuck him, your nose is perfect. No one could look at you and find you anything less than perfect." Oh yeah, she likes women. Or at least she's not immune to my charms. I realize this is a little unconventional, but I have a last request. I want you. Medusa says, "That's not funny." Calypso says, "Neither is knowing that I won't live to see the morning." As I mentioned earlier, Odysseus is a selfish lover. Medusa's like, "You actually didn't mention that." She says, "I said I faked it." It's the same thing, which I guess I missed her saying she faked it. "I've been enduring mediocre sex for the better part of a year. If I'm going to die at your hands, I'd prefer to do it well sated." Medusa's like, "Out of the question. It's wrong. I know what you're doing. It won't work. This only ends one way, no matter what I think of it." Just as I suspected, she's wavering. She has to be in order to have given me the opportunity to talk to her at all. An assassin without conflict would have just ambushed me and gotten it over with. I'm not sure what Athena was thinking sending her, but then Medusa has a reputation for always getting the job done. Maybe she didn't realize her sharpest tool was faltering. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really understand the faltering is the point, or the problem. I can't believe you're asking for this. I don't even know how to respond. This is wrong. You can hardly consent when I'm here for the reason that I'm here. And that's a good point. And I wish that we had had a longer conversation about this, because like, can you consent if you are only doing it because you're trying to save your life? Plenty of people have taken what they want with less care over my feelings of the matter. I cup her jaw with one hand, drop her other to her hips, so I tug her closer. She follows my guidance without hesitation, Please, M, if this is going to be my last night, I don't want to die with the memory of his hands on me. Kiss me. Chapter 4, Medusa. I don't know what's happening. Me either. We are rushing through this. We are already 36% way through the book. I'm still trying to dredge up a good protest when she kisses me. They're making out. I'm kissing her back. Gods, this is a mistake. I need to stop. Something pricks my thigh. And she realizes that Calypso has drugged her. Sorry, love, all's fair in love and war and all that. She says, it's just a light paralytic though. You'll be right as rain in about an hour, just long enough for me to make my escape. She says, you really are beautiful, Medusa. Yes, I figured out who you are. It wasn't particularly hard. Medusa's like, how? And I'm like, she touched you're covered in scars. She touched them. Okay, it's fine. She's like, if you decide you want out from being under Athena's thumb, cross the river Styx and come find me. I think we could have some fun. She wants me to follow her right across the river Styx and into the lower city. Athena would never sanction it, not even to tie up this loose end. And then she just literally does. Athena just literally sanctions it, like at the end of the chapter. Oh, okay, Athena would never do it, except she absolutely would. For whatever reason, the rest of the 13 don't cross the river and meddle in lower city affairs. If Calypso truly intends that as her destination, she's effectively beyond Athena's reach, it means I'm failing, or it means I failed. I knew from the start that killing Calypso felt wrong. I wouldn't have hesitated otherwise. I certainly haven't in the past. Even when the deaths at my hands began to feel like a weight too heavy to bear, I'm relieved. She has to tell Athena, I failed. She was gone when I got here. It looks like something tipped her off. She packed her things and she's gone. Athena's like, yeah, and she stole all of Odysseus's money before she left, by the way. Find her, Medusa. Retrieve his money and remove her. She's too smart to stay in the upper city. If she's cleaned him out, she'll cross the river into the lower city. And Athena says, normally that would be enough, but these are special circumstances. Go after her, but do it carefully. Medusa's like, we have never chased somebody across the river Styx before. And Athena's like, I'm aware, get it done. And so either this is out of character for Medusa or it's out of character for Medusa and Athena. And I'm like, but we're just like speed running through those things. And that's important to characters. Like if I'm supposed to care about the book, then I have to care about the characters and I have to understand them, and we're speed running past the stuff that would make me care and understand them. I owe Athena everything. I don't always understand her motivations or her actions, but when push came to shove, she had my back. Ignoring this order, failing to do as she commands, means spitting in the face of everything she's done for me. She's ensured I've never had to deal with the 13 again after that disastrous experience with Poseidon. What is a beautiful, selfish woman like Calypso compared to all that history? Chapter 5, Calypso. I approached the middle of the 3 bridges that cross the river Styx. I shouldn't have baited Medusa. I shouldn't have left her alive, but I don't commit murder. What would I even do with an assassin that, if I don't miss my guess, has big himbo energy? This is where this book went from a 3 to a 2 for me, because I just think that that's really goofy. Like, sure, it's funny if like a reviewer says, man, Medusa sure has big himbo energy, but in a book, I just find it cringy. You don't have to say it out loud. The big himbo energy was implied. On the bridges, there is a white man with a truly impressive square chin and broad shoulders to give Medusa a run for her money. And he's like, hey, go back. She says, I can't go back. If I don't make it to the lower city, I'll be killed. And he says, why? Athena and Zeus want me dead because one of their favorites was too cowardly to dump me as his mistress. He says, if you're lying, there's going to be consequences. You've made it this far, you can make it 10 more feet. Your story's going to be vetted, and if you lied, then I will truss you up and deliver you back across the river myself. So she just gets literally, like 2 paragraphs later, gets handed a place to stay. One moment, I'm calculating what my chances of finding a hotel or something akin to that, and then the next, this stranger is ushering me into a warm and inviting lobby. The person behind the reception desk is an East Asian woman with her long dark hair pulled back into a slick ponytail, wearing a slouchy sweater that I can only describe as grandpa style. Now, I don't know about you, but when I read that, I was like, East Asian, wait, where are we again? I thought this was secondary world fantasy, but I forgot that this is actually set in the real world, but I forget how like the dynamics of that work into our world. So the guy who met her at the bridge was Charon, and he tells Sandra, the woman working at the hotel, Calypso needs a place to stay. We normally need first and last month, but since Charon brought you in, we can waive that. Wow, how incredibly convenient. There are no stakes whatsoever. He says, if you run into any kind of trouble, you should call me. She says, do you monitor everybody who crosses the bridges? He says, it's hardly a full-time job since there's barely any foot traffic there. I just happened to be in the area tonight and got notified of your crossing. Based on what he said, this man has some power, but he's not in charge. So who is in charge of the lower city? Because we're told that, again, Hades died. This was an issue I took with Neon Gods, is like, how does everybody not know that there is a Hades again? These people have cell phones? She's made to sign an agreement that can be terminated by the leader of the lower city. Apparently every renters and buyers agreement has this clause in it that it can be terminated by the leader. So he's like the mayor, emperor, the Hades that she doesn't know exists is like the mayor emperor of the lower city, I guess. I don't know. Again, I really don't understand this whole setup. She says, thank you for your quick acceptance. And I'm like, quick, how about we call it what it is? Convenient. This is like breakneck speed. We're at 52%. It was like 5 minutes ago I said we were at 36. So he leaves her, she's in her new apartment, and suddenly a knife presses to the hollow of my throat. Don't do anything foolish, Medusa says softly in my ear. Chapter 6, Medusa's POV. Put your hands out in front of you. How did you find me? You took your phone with you. It required another favor from Bellerophon, but they were only too happy to do a quick trace and pass along the information. I hope that at some point she tells her to get rid of her phone, because I don't remember her doing that, and if Bellerophon can trace it for Medusa, he could also do that for Athena, and Athena could just send somebody else after them. I don't get it. She asks, why did you take the money? And Calypso's like, I earned that money. He gave me a debit card. Odysseus liked to brag that he's the smartest person in the room, in any room he walks into. Surely he saw that coming. That was kind of funny. She's like, all right, you gonna finish your job this time? Athena won't send me after you if you leave the city. Not even Zeus will bother with you. Calypso says, oh, you really are honorable, aren't you? And Medusa says, I'm not honorable. My hands are stained with the blood of a whole lot of people. And again, I just don't know why she's suddenly feeling some sort of way about that now. Calypso's like, wait, you don't like what you do? It doesn't matter if I like what I do. I'm trying to get you out of Olympus alive. And Calypso says, I don't want to leave. Olympus is my home. I just signed a rental agreement here, and Sandra is too nice to fuck over. Sandra, again, is the slouchy grandpa sweater person. She says, I can't not kill you. You need to get out of here, or I'm going to have to kill you. Athena will check that you're dead. She'll send someone else. And I'm like, okay, again, you need to tell her to get rid of her phone right now then. If Athena is checking up on your jobs, then it means she doesn't trust you. She knows I waver from time to time. It's normal for her to check up on that. Wait, so you wavered before? When? See, this is the kind of stuff I needed to know previously, because before it was like, I'm the boogeyman, I never waver, I always get the job done. She's one of the most powerful people in Olympus, and she wouldn't maintain that title without being smart and ruthless. I owe Athena everything. Calypso says, Medusa. My name on her lips makes me a little woozy, but not in a bad way. I'm hardly inexperienced, but all my flings and relationships, such as they were with people like me, special forces, or in a few rarer cases, with one of Ares' soldiers. They were not soft, generously curved, artfully beautiful people like Calypso. She's a songbird to my, well, I don't know birds that well, honestly. Something predatory and plain. I'm like, oh, all right, poetic, which honestly is on par for Medusa. At this point, I'm a little frustrated because I don't feel like I really understand Medusa in her motivations, and I would really like to, and that's such a big, huge part of the story. Do you still want to kill me? Calypso says. I never wanted to kill you. I know, Calypso says, and then she kisses me. And then clothes are coming off. Calypso drinks in the sight of me. She steps between my legs and runs appreciative hands over my arms. You have tattoos. And so the only snakes that this version of Medusa has is curving lines of snakes writhing down to the handful of heads at my wrist. Handful of heads at my wrist. So is it like, I'm having trouble. I don't understand what this is telling me. That sounds awkward. Mouths open, fangs glistening with poison. They twine with the scars on my arms, not quite covering them up, but not really accenting them either. A reminder of what you're capable of. Oh, Medusa, you are so delightfully dramatic. I love it. I skim my hands down to catch her hips and pull her closer. Her breasts are full and heavy. Okay, I don't know about you, but as somebody who is breastfed, I know what it feels like to have breasts that are actually full and heavy. One time, I only fed from one side like all night long. And when I woke up, this boob was so full of milk and heavy. And I was like shocked by it. I didn't know what to do. It was like tight. That has literally never happened to me during sex. What would it even fill with? I don't, like, I can understand it like, you know, the skin kind of tightens, the nipple gets harder, but they never get full. They never get heavier. They just get tighter, especially like around the nipple area. That can't be the same. Those are different things. So I'm very confused. Is this something that is happening to other people's boobs and is not happening to my boobs outside the context of breastfeeding? Genuine question again. Medusa says, I don't know where to start. You're like something really cool and filled with all my favorite things, and I want to play kid in the candy store with your body. And Calypso unironically, specifically unironically, says, you have a way with words, Medusa. And I'm like, if anybody said that to me in the context of sex, we immediately have to start all over and forget that that happened, because that is super unsexy. Again, I am super, super picky, and I can get unhorny in like 2 seconds if you say the wrong thing. I arch up to catch her mouth, even as I skate my hand up her thigh to cup her over her panties. Cup her came up in Neon Gods too, and I hated it then, and I don't like it now either. I don't deserve this, but I'm just selfish enough not to stop and demand how she could be even remotely into me as I am into her. This sentiment comes up over and over and over again and again in a book where we have such a short amount of pages and aren't doing enough character work, but we are repeating the same sentiments over and over. I just don't like that. I feel like that is such a waste of our time. I run my hands over her thick thighs, pausing over the tiny strips of stretch marks that I hadn't noticed before. Some might call them imperfections, but they just make her that much more real to me. A goddess, yes, but a woman made of flesh and blood. A woman I wish was mine. Fellow stretch mark girly here. Feel that. Chapter 7 is in Calypso's POV. We are 64% through. Love is all well and good, but love doesn't pay the bills, and love doesn't offer the kind of safety that comes with money. My relationships were always transactional, even if most of my partners pretended otherwise. I have no shame about that, certainly no regret. But the result is that until this moment, I've never had anyone look at me the way Medusa does. I'm a realist, but I can't identify the emotion that surges within me in response to the way she runs her hands up my thighs in a wondering kind of way. I don't know what being a realist has to do with not being able to identify the emotion. I feel like realist was not the right word for that sentence. And so Medusa verbalizes how unworthy she feels to Calypso. It's like one of the gods descended from wherever the fuck they reside and spread her legs from me. You're lucky I haven't passed out from the shock. And Calypso's like, I don't get it. Medusa's great. For fuck's sake, the woman has a six-pack, which is not a common occurrence. It's not. And you know what? Good for Medusa. She sounds fine as hell. Surely you're not foolish enough to think that looks matter more than the core beneath. You're honest. And she's not talking about her physical core, by the way, even though she does have a six-pack. This woman has been cut down so deep that she won't believe a simple compliment. She sees her valuing my life as something to be hidden and ashamed of because she's supposedly failing Athena. As if Athena isn't just as bad as every other member of the 13. She might have saved Medusa all those years ago, but she didn't do it out of the kindness of her soul. She did it because it was an important opportunity to stick it to the last Poseidon who she had issue with. See, this is important context that I wish we had had earlier. I wish that they knew each other, and when she was like, Calypso, I've been sent to kill you, you fucked up. Calypso's like, I didn't fuck up, and by the way, you're working for somebody who's using you. She only is using you to get back at the last Poseidon. She didn't care about you, she just hated that guy. She worships me with her mouth, exploring me with slow swipes of her tongue before moving up to focus on my... It's too good. I'm going to lose control. The temptation rises to shove her away to do whatever it takes to regain the upper hand. The idea that there isn't an upper hand in this scenario, that we're just two equals sharing pleasure, I can barely comprehend it. I think that this was super important. This is part of the reason why it gets a 2 instead of a 1, because I think that that conversation is super important. Sometimes when sex is transactional, you do end up feeling this way where you feel like you need to be in some position of power. That's like very common. And so I appreciate it that it gets mentioned here that she's like, I have been having sex so long with this power dynamic that I'm not used to meeting on what is like now equal footing. So she arrives. Congratulations. Now she wants to be in power and, you know, finish off Medusa, not in a killing way. Medusa says, slow down. You know, I'm more interested in like taking our time. Watching you come brings me pleasure, and people have been taking from you for too long. Don't rush me. We have all night. And the chapter ends with Calypso saying to herself, I'm terribly afraid that I might be falling in love with Medusa. And I'm like, you guys have known each other for 2 seconds. This is bonkers. It would have been so much cuter and sweeter and more tender if they had known each other previously. Chapter 8 is in Medusa's POV. She's panting against my lips, her skin dewy with sweat and her hair a tangled mess. She's never been more beautiful to me. Again, you guys have known each other for 2 seconds. The like sample sizes of, you know, how many ways you have seen Calypso is very small. So of course she's never been more beautiful. This is only like the second time you've ever met. In all of the hour and 20 minutes, maybe maximum, that we have spent together, she's never been more beautiful. Like, yeah, I mean, I do like though that it does say, I didn't expect the tenderness. I didn't even know to look for it. I sure as fuck didn't anticipate how protective I feel at the sight of vulnerability in her dark eyes. I think that that's very sweet. When it comes to sex scenes, I like it when we focus on like the tenderness between individuals. That's a preference thing. I'm not like, you know, prescribing that onto you. If she won't allow me to be her shield, then I'll just have to take care of her body in the only way she'll let me. Aw, she really does have big himbo energy. She just wants to be like her protector. That is cute. I just think that women... Medusa has piercings, both up and down, if you catch my drift. They're good about communication during they're both saying, if I do something that you don't like, tell me. It's nothing more than the same thing I said to her, but it feels important, tender, caring. We don't really need to restate the word tender, but we are. Okay, I wish we'd use something else. However, I do, again, really appreciate the communication during sex. It feels a lot like being loved, even though I'm not foolish enough to mistake sex for emotion, I think. And again, we're doing this thing where, like, it can't be love, can it? Like, stop, I get it. Calypso is like delaying arriving. So then when she finally meets her destination, I so hard I think I black out. I think that this, so in the last video I did about a spicy book, it was Under One Roof by Ali Hazelwood. I was like, so when you guys are having penetrative, is this book accurate where it's like, you know, sometimes you get, you know, things get inserted and then your vision blurs because that's what the book is saying? And that has never happened to me. I don't understand how those two things can happen, but I do feel like, and this makes sense because it's like a nerve thing. I do feel like that has happened to me where I've almost blacked out during arriving. So like that makes sense to me, but the vision blurring thing, not so much. Let me know if you like have experienced one and not the other. I'm just trying to figure out if anybody, if maybe I'm the weird one. I'm distantly aware of her murmuring in a low melodious voice as she smoothed her hands over my body. I really do wish that these books actually had more magic in them. There was like one character that had the magical ability to like relay messages in Neon Gods, but that was basically it. I think Calypso has like singing magic, right? I barely know anything about Calypso, I'm sorry. I do wish that magic was present because I think that that could have been like a sweet addition into here. I mean, really anything extra would have been more helpful to understanding this and these people. There is no reality where a woman like Calypso actually looks at me like I might be someone she could love, but sex chemicals do funny things to brains. We get it. You don't think she could love you. I mean, that does make sense. Again, it's only been like 90 minutes of hangout time, my love. Calypso asks her afterwards, how can you possibly keep that innocent thread while doing what you do for Athena? You're nice, and I don't mean that as an insult. Good people in Olympus are rarer than diamonds. I've killed people as in multiple. I'm not a good person, Medusa says. If you look up bad person in the dictionary, pretty sure there are murderers are listed there. Calypso says, bad person isn't a term in the dictionary. So they're finally going to have a conversation about why Medusa is the way she is and why Calypso is the way she is, and I don't feel like the answers we got are really sufficient. Medusa thinks, I don't know why she cares so much. No one else gives a fuck if I think I'm good or bad. They only care about what I'm able to do for them. And I think that's really interesting, and there's like a comparison to be made there where, you know, Calypso is used for her body by men until she, you know, no longer serves that purpose to them. But then also, so is Medusa. So there is some common ground there. I just don't really feel like we did much with it. Calypso says, I grew up with nothing. I think those at the top forget that it's not like that for everybody. But even though my parents tried their best and tried their hardest, they were barely getting by. Maybe it's selfish or materialistic, but I saw my mom work herself to the bone, saw how it wore her down, month after month, year after year. Medusa says, yeah, my parents were dock workers, or they still are, and they worked hard to hide how everything was, but I started to notice when I was a teenager. Calypso says, yeah, I had big dreams. I busted my ass. I got good grades. I went into the university. Apparently Olympus only has one university. It takes the time to tell us that. I don't know why we need to know. She got in on a full scholarship, but it took less than a quarter for them to put me in my place because the scholarship only covered basics, so I was on my own for books and all the other expensives. One of my professors came on to me. He started sneaking little gifts to me even after I said no thank you, and then he started buying my books and I let him seduce me. He was funding the things I needed. He wasn't terrible. This thing with Odysseus might give you the wrong idea, but I don't make a habit of sleeping with people who treat me badly. My relationships have been more explicitly transactional than most. I misjudged Odysseus. I knew it was never going to be permanent, but he's charming in his way. I let him convince me it was love. Medusa says, you deserve to be valued for more than fucking Calypso. I realize that seems really hypocritical considering what we just did, but I mean it. So Medusa says, my parents were dock workers. It's a generational thing. I was visiting my parents when I was 18. I ran into Poseidon, or the last Poseidon at least. He liked the way I looked. He wanted to make me his mistress. I said I wasn't interested. I told him to fuck off. He didn't take it well. He attacked me. He brought out a knife. I don't know what Athena was doing at the docks that day, but if she hadn't intervened, I think he would have killed me. She saved me, took me back to her office building, got me stitched up and bandaged, offered me a job with the promise that I'd never have to see him again. See, this would have hit even harder if we had done a longer book and we found out that Athena set Medusa up so that she could swoop in and play savior and then make her into a weapon that she forged against her enemies to, like, you know, make her higher up in power. My parents didn't even try to help Calypso. Maybe one day I'll get over how much of a betrayal that feels, but I don't know, we don't talk anymore. And if we had expanded on this, we could have made it so that Athena either threatened or paid off her parents not to step in. But unfortunately, we did not. Athena saved me. I worshipped the ground she walked on. It wasn't until recently that I noticed the cracks in the flagstones beneath my feet. But all the cracks in the flagstones are, maybe I don't like doing this stuff that I've been doing a really long time. And I'm like, yeah, but that's kind of boring and out of nowhere. Chapter 9 is in Calypso's POV. Medusa falls asleep in my arms and too damn jaded to believe this could be love after a few hours, but I can't deny the connection I feel with her. Maybe it's trauma bonding. Maybe it's something more. You guys have known each other for like 2 hours. I can see how the jobs she does for Athena are leeching away her life. It's not the same kind of thing that I witnessed growing up with my parents, but it's close enough that I recognize it in the way she carries herself, how she speaks, how desperate she is to ensure I make it out of this alive. I don't even know what her parents did, so I'm not really sure. Like, Medusa's parents were dock workers, but it never said what Calypso's parents did. I'm fully committed to meeting her halfway and doing whatever it takes to ensure she doesn't feel like her only option is going back to Athena. So then she calls Charon, the guy who brought her across the bridges and hooked her up with a sweet-ass apartment for fucking free. She's like, hey, I thought crossing the river would be enough to deter my pursuers, but it wasn't. I need help. He's like, I can get you in front of somebody who can help, and then after that, it's up to you. She's like, tomorrow I'll consider that Charon thinks several large acts of kindness are nothing. He might be trying to manipulate me, but I don't think so. I think this is genuine, though I can't begin to guess what that means. Me neither. I don't understand why Charon is just nice, why everybody in the lower city is just nice. I don't get it. The next day, they're gonna go meet Charon, and while they're talking before getting ready, Medusa says, usually if someone manages to get across the river, that's the end of it. I think if you hadn't stolen from Odysseus, it would have been true for you as well. And Calypso's like, I'm not gonna apologize for stealing from me. He took a hit out on me. I think whoever is leading the lower city is powerful enough to give the 13 paws. So now we're working up to like revealing that there is a version of Hades still alive. It's the son of the previous Hades. I don't even remember why it's important that Hades remain a secret, and I don't think it's ever explained how, when again, these people have cell phones. Calypso's like, I don't want you to go back. I want you to stay here with me. I realize this may be difficult to believe considering how little time we've known each other. Correct. I do find it unbelievable. And how we met. The last night meant something to me. It wasn't just sex. I like you, Medusa, a lot. I feel very taken care of when I'm with you, and you make me want to take care of you too. It doesn't feel transactional. I realize this might not be mutual, and I understand completely if you were just having fun. And Medusa's like, no, it wasn't just fun for me. It was more like a religious experience, except I'm not religious, and I don't know if I believe in the gods. And again, I'm very confused about who the gods are in this scenario versus who the 13 are, because the 13 are gods, but then I guess they're not? I don't know. I don't understand. I wish I did, because I think I would like this more if I just had some understanding. I like you, Calypso. I wouldn't have done all this. I wouldn't have had sex with you if I didn't. If you're saying you don't want to, and Calypso's like, oh, I want to date you. I want to exclusively be your girlfriend. Medusa says, I'm warning you now, Calypso. I'm going to fall in love with you. Prepare yourself. She says, also, when we go meet up with these people, promise me that you won't bargain anything away from me, that if this person asks for something outrageous or unforgivable, that we'll leave Olympus together. And Calypso says, I promise, but it says, I promise, I lie. But then she's not going to bargain anything away. She doesn't have to, because they can meet Hades, and he's just like, yeah, you can stay. Bye. The end. Chapter 10 opens up regardless, saying, in Medusa's POV, Calypso is lying to me. She's willing to bargain herself to ensure I stay safe. And I'm like, first of all, I don't understand how that's possible. You guys just met yesterday. And also, I don't even know why we bothered, because again, we're just gonna go meet Hades and he's gonna be like, yep, you're good. You're good to stay. I'll keep you safe from the 13. The end. No stakes. So they go to Hades' house. Charon takes them to Hades' house in what appears to be a Victorian mansion, and they get in front of Hades. They don't know he's Hades yet. He looks vaguely familiar, but it's Calypso who recognizes him while I'm still trying to figure out why he looks familiar. She sucks in a shocked breath. Hades? I jerk back and then look closer. A lot of Olympians get curious about the member of the 13th, who's essentially the boogeyman of the city. Well, I thought you were the boogeyman. You're just the boogeyman of the other part of the city, but he's also the boogeyman? You guys are dual boogeymen? Or at least he was before his death. There aren't many photos of the last Hades. This one could be his doppelganger, except that's impossible, because even if Hades hadn't died 30 years ago, he'd be in his late 50s now at least. This guy can't be more than 35. Understanding hits me like a lightning bolt. You're his son. You're supposed to be dead. Call me one of Olympus's best kept secrets. He doesn't smile and his dark eyes don't warm at all. You've come to claim sanctuary. Explain the situation. I don't give Calypso a chance to argue, just jump into a slightly chaotic explanation of how we got to this place. It's not perfect, but this Hades can get the general idea of what we're up against. They just word vomit it, and it's just summed up in their paragraph. I tell him what happened. Speed running. For what purpose? We're willing to work or do anything that's a reasonable ask, but we will not be willing to do anything. I'm not going to kill anyone, and Calypso is not going to be your mistress. Hades says, this is the lower city. We don't make a habit of murdering people who inconvenience us, and no one will be compelled to enter into any kind of sexual or emotional relationship if they're not consenting. So they say, okay, what's the catch? And he's like, well, you're hardly the only two people who've been wronged by the 13. And they're like, but you're a member of the 13. But wait, if he's dead, then why don't they call it the 12 now? I can offer you safety in the lower city with the understanding that if you're not being honest about why you're here, the consequences will be severe. Calypso's like, you're gonna kill us if we're lying? You just said that you don't kill people. If your motives are true, you're welcome to stay, but you can never go back to the upper city. My domain stops at the river Styx. I can't protect you if you're foolish enough to go where you're not protected. She says, that's it? He says, yes, I sympathize with being used and discarded by those more powerful than you. We have space in the lower city. Don't make trouble. You can live out the rest of your life here in peace. What about Athena? What about Zeus? They ask. I'll handle them. They should have known better than to send an assassin into my territory. They say, we'll stay. We won't cause trouble. He says, all right, time will tell. Leave. What if there's a catch? What if there's not? They say. I meant what I said this morning. I would like to be your girlfriend, Medusa. We're free. I'd hoped, but having it actually happen, I think it's going to take time for it to feel real. I'll need to look for a job and all that, but I think it's okay to start tomorrow. I have a few ideas to pass the time today in that apartment they got for free. Come on, Medusa. Let's go home. Home. It might be too soon to feel this way. It is. But as I follow Calypso down the street and back to her cute little apartment, it really feels like home could be a person rather than a place. Given a little time and a whole lot of love, Calypso can be my home. That's the beauty of this turn of events, of something that started out like a nightmare now feels more like a dream. We have all the time in the world. The end. That it's just so fast, and for what? I really don't like Insta love, and I feel like there was an opportunity here to just add, I don't know, 50 more pages. Like, this could have been a 140-page novella and done a lot more. I don't really understand why we rushed through things, why we didn't really have good foundational backstories and understanding of why these people, like why Medusa was feeling some kind of way about this particular woman. Is it just because she's hot and a mistress? Well, all those other people that you killed before, what about them? But then, like 75% through the book, it says Athena knows that I've wavered before. And I'm like, wait, but you didn't mention that until now. It wasn't like that before. I also feel like we didn't really do very much with like the retelling bits. Like, it just felt like we sort of like, well, she's Medusa because she had a mask in her pocket that she gave to Calypso for all of 10 seconds, and she has a snake tattoo, and people view her as monstrous. I'm like, well, I feel like we could have done a little bit more. I also just like ache for some magic in these. I think, again, Calypso has like singing magic, right? So I feel like we could have done something there. And it's only like barely hinted at that, you know, that's like tying us back to Calypso in the first place. I don't know. I just feel like we could have done so much more. Just literally 40 to 50 more pages, and we could have had such a good couple here. And I really do think that the best bet would have been for them to know each other so that we already are starting off on a foundation. But them getting to know each other and falling in love in the course of 90 pages, it's like, whoa, relax. Which sucks because I was really hoping to like this more than I liked Neon Gods. Unfortunately, this is just not it for me. I think that the sex scenes were fun. The sex scene was fine. Other than, you know, I just hate the phrase cup her. But other than that, I think it had good communication. I appreciated it. It was very soft and tender, but I just didn't care about them. Like, I wasn't like, oh, yay, I'm rooting for them, because I just feel like they're not really fully realized people. They just felt like cardboard cutouts. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments and questions down below. If you made it this far, leave a mask emoji, I guess. Let me know if there is a different Medusa retelling that you like. I know there is like a book that is Medusa that just came out not too long ago. I would like to read more Greek retellings, including that one. But let me know if there's a different one, because I would really like to read it. I really do think that the last book I read with Medusa in it was probably Percy Jackson, which was a long time ago. All right, thanks so much for watching. Comments and questions down below. Like and subscribe if you feel like it. And I will see you next time. Bye.
And before I go, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Therapy Bells patrons. And those are Alexander, Ashley H, Astra, Astrid, Brittany Bobitney, Call Me Kodiak, Cami, Choco's Trash for Japanese Mysteries and Thrillers, Chris the Horror Therapist, DJ Rocktopus, EK Casey, Ellie, Emerald Dodge, Aaron with 2 E's, Eric, GalaxyBot, Jess, John E, Julie D, K, Kaleno K, Casey McKenzie, Quinn, Lady Kittybug, Lady Chips, Lemon Jelly, Lex, Lily B, Max B, Minby, Mommy Zami, Alice, Panoramic Demon, Peggy Lou, specifically Peggy Lou, I'm a Creep Who.
Peggy. Rain, Reese, SJ, Sadwich Bree, Samar, Scarlett, Shiny, SMK, Spoopy, Steph B, 2 Orbit, Urchin Audrey, White Raven 13, Zorvictia, Chai Guy, and Bibuli Baby Dragon. I think I did it right this time. Thank you all so much for being here. And thank you for being a friend. And before I go, I also have to say thank you for being a friend to my Potato Starch Marxist patrons. Those are Alejandra. Alicia is reading that Ethan book and screaming, "Oh my God, Alicia, I know. It's so good. I know. Althea, Amanda D, Andy, Angelica, Artie the Ninth, Ava, Ballads and Bookends, Beck, Blake Lemon Pants, Blythe Lavender, Bookish Brainrot, Bookish by Jenna, Bree, Kate, Caitlin, Cardinal Ginger, Carlin, Carly, Casper, Kate W, Catherine, Kathy, CJ, Claire Online, Colleen, Corwin, Cosmic, Darius, Danielle, Darren, Desiree Michelle, Dilf Enthusiast, Dorian, Dorothea, Drive By Thinker, E.T. Cosgrove, Ebby, Emily A, Emma Kingsbane, hell yeah, I know that's a Furyborn reference now and I'm so happy. Aaron, Ezra Moon, Fiona, Francis, Gadarn, Hannah C, Harpy Kuro, Ilianaka, JM Tennant, Jay is on Olympus, Jelly V, Jen Michelle, Genderqueer, Jenny G, Justice Sue, Jill, Jojo Bookish, Juicy Wizard, that's a good one, Kat H, Catherine, Katie, Kaylee, Kayala, Kendra, Kitten, KMTV, Laughing Cat Dog, Lauren G, Lazarus Ray, Library of Scars, Jesus, Lindsay M, Lisa B, Lisa L, LP, Lou Siri, Lustful Octopus, Martin, Maddie, Madison, Man Eating Plant, Marcella, Marquita, Megan, Malara, Mentally Unwell, May, Molly, Never, Nicole G, Nicole R, Nemeska, Nyan Binary, Paige P, Penelope, Penny Chilling, Foxglove, Pandemonium, Queen Cereal, Rachel B, Reba, Rebecca R, Ronnie, Rosie Thorns, Rowan, Secoria, Saintbringer, Saki Alume, Samantha O, Sammy, Sarah H, Sarah the Bear, Sarah Z, Shamed, Shannon, Sean, Sisette, Sophie, Talia, Tiana, Trashcan Teddy, Triple M, Tito Phoenix, and Writer A. Thank you all so much for being here and for being a friend.